Well, it is Saturday, the 28th day of June 2024. Good evening and welcome to News Watching Hope TV tonight. You're just in time for the day's news. I'm Tess Njenga. Let's take a look at the day's events. President William Ruto has signed the 2024 Appropriations Bill a few days after he declined to assent the 2024 Finance Bill, sending it back to the National Assembly. In a statement issued today, President William Ruto said the law directs him to approve the appropriation bill before June the 30th each year. The signing of the bill will ensure government operations continue, as well as the provision of essential services. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has been sued over statements he made against the National Intelligence Service NIS Director General Noordin Haji. The petitioner activist Frederick Bikeri argues that the remarks made by the Deputy President against Haji were untruthful, inciting and unlawful, and do not meet the expected standards for a public officer, and Articles 73 and 75 of the Constitution, as well as the Leadership and Integrity Act. This comes a few hours after leaders from the Coast region blasted the Deputy President for resigning, or rather to resign from office, terming him as tribal over his sentiments to the NIS boss. Nelias Wanjiru with more.
Had Noordin Haji done his job, we will not be where we are today. He has no capacity. He is out of the country most of the time on business trips. The country is on his own. My boss, President William Ruto, is exposed. That he has to back down and admit that he has hurt the people of Kenya. Yet this matter has been in public domain for the last 2 months. I want to say that Noordin Haji must take responsibility for the deaths that occurred. He must take responsibility for the mayhem. He must take responsibility for failing President William Ruto. He must take responsibility for failing the government of the Republic of Kenya. He must take responsibility for failing the Kenyan nation.
Those are sentiments made by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on Wednesday, 26 June 2024, against the National Intelligence Service Director General Noordin Haji while addressing the nation. According to DP, Haji should take responsibility for the mayhem, deaths, and all losses experienced in the nation from the national protest against Finance Bill 2024. Following the above sentiments he made against the National Intelligence Service Director General Noordin Haji, Deputy President has been sued. The petition activist Frederick Bikeri urges that the remarks made by DP Gachagua against Haji were untruthful, inciting, and unlawful, and do not meet the expected standards for a public officer under Articles 73 and 75 of the Constitution, as well as Leadership Act and Integrity Act. Early today, a section of political leaders from the coastal region, led by Hassan Omar, blasted the DP, demanding that he resign from the sentiments to the NIS boss, calling him tribal and untruthful man. Omar added that they were present when the deputy president was selected by the president to be the deputy president, and he is becoming arrogant to the people that nominated him in the list, daring him to exit the office and start rehearsing for the 2027 elections.
If you start to undermine the presidency, we shall also stop to respect the office of the deputy president, not as an office, but as a person. And therefore, we're asking you for one issue. You are selected, and I repeat it, you were selected. I was there when you were being selected. The decision to select you over Kindiki changed in a couple of hours, about 12 hours. It could have been Kindiki as deputy president. It's in public domain. Not on competence. Yeah. So therefore, we're asking you, and you are now casting aspersions on the decisions of the president to select Noordin Haji, or to appoint Noordin Haji as Director General of the NIS. Yet, the same president took it in his wisdom to appoint you or to select you as Deputy President. And therefore, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel there are votes you brought on board as the rest of the speakers have said, exit the scene. Go and prepare yourself for a contest in 2027, and let us see which Kenya will elect a tribal bigot as president.
Still on the same, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria and Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah have both pointed fingers to Gachagua, asserting that he reviewed the contentious proposals even before President William Ruto had a chance to see them. The accusation paint Gachagua not as a victim but as a key player in the bill's progression. Moses Kuria taking the social media lambasted Gachagua for his leadership role in various critical government councils and committees, including the IBEC. The DP on Wednesday demanded that Haji step down from his office to pave way for a more competent Director General. Addressing the press in Mombasa, a seemingly agitated DP blaming the NIS for the current anti-government protests, which is said have led to death and destruction, sentiments that seems to have elicited reactions. Reporting for Hope TV News Watch, my name is Nelias Wanjiru.
Thank you, Nelias Wanjiru, for that report. Now, Azimio la Umoja Coalition co-principal Kalonzo Musyoka has castigated the government over the brutal killing of protesters. Speaking when visiting protesters who have sustained injuries during the anti-finance bill protests at Kenyatta National Hospital, Kalonzo threatened to seek the International Criminal Court, that is the ICC's intervention over alleged atrocities committed. Kalonzo has also challenged President William Ruto to speak against the shooting of protesters during the demos.
We received a report that over 200 people were brought in. Unfortunately, 2 of them were dead on arrival and 3 died while receiving treatment. And that is one wing that we visited. So you can see, you can begin to imagine the trauma, the suffering by the Kenyan people and this nation. As we speak, we have a nation that is deeply troubled, deeply insecure, yet not a word since the happenings on Tuesday from the so-called government spokesperson, not a word from Inspector General of Kenya Police, or the commandant here, the infamous Bungei. We're going to document every case, perhaps even revisit the International Criminal Court, and this time talk to them about the atrocities committed against the Kenyan people by a regime which is heartless, which calls its own citizens traitors, the committing treasonous, treasonous acts. And we are yet to be told who are the financiers of this very organic youth movement, organic in their thousands, and they just want to claim their country back. This is not the country our forefathers fought for. And I want to look at William Ruto in the face, I hope he's looking at me, and tell him to rise above himself and realize he has instruments of power and order the stoppage of killing of young Kenyans. It is obvious he must have given the directive, shoot to kill. Because those snipers would not have blown up the young brain we saw at the mortuary the other day. He's one of the two people who arrived here dead on arrival because his brains were blown off. So this cannot continue. In a democracy, it cannot continue. And by the way, I want to ask William, is this a democracy or a military dictatorship?
The Christian women of Kenya have strongly condemned the recent killings witnessed during the anti-finance bill protests in the country. The women now want President William Ruto to keep his promise and fully withdraw the 2024-2025 finance bill and dialogue with Kenyans who have lost hope in his government. Samia Dika with more details.
Barely a day after President William Ruto backed down on his quest to assent the controversial 2024-2025 finance bill.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The Christian Women of Kenya, led by their chair lady Mama Ada Adoyo, has reiterated on the need for the Kenya Kwanza administration to listen to the cry of the masses.
We call on you to keep your promise to the people of Kenya and expeditiously have the finance bill withdrawn legally by the sitting members of parliament, to look for avenues of dialoguing with these sons and daughters who are generally known as Gen Zs. We are excited by the spark they have lit and the invitation to us all to once again reflect and passionately engage on what we want to see our Kenya become. We are aware that true change often begins this way, but it is only sustained with patience and engagement, which must be guided responsibly.
While condoling with families that lost their kins during these weeks' demonstrations, the women have condemned the police for use of excessive force in a bid to manage the demonstrators.
We condemn in the strongest terms possible the police brutality we have witnessed meted out on defenseless demonstrators. As Christian mothers, we say this is not the way to handle persons expressing their constitutional right peacefully.
The group has, however, called on the youth to maintain peace as they exercise their constitutional right to peacefully picket and demonstrate.
We recognize the effort and courage of our sons and daughters in handling the issues related to the finance bill and other matters. In our eyes, the things you are agitating for are good for Kenya's future. However, we want to caution those that may be hijacking this and making it to look like a bad cause. We want you to remain on course the way you began.
The church has also been urged not to be silenced in its quest for a just society.
We are appealing to all the churches to reflect, the church leaders, reflect. When I come to your church, do I come according to the will of God and the ordinances of God? Or do I come just because I want to do things to the extent that when I do wrong, you are not in a position to correct me? Yes. I think this is what the young Kenyans are saying, and even some of us.
The attack comes just days after Kenyans took to social media to blame the church for remaining silent, even as the government continued to ignore the call to pause the 2024 finance bill. For Newswatch, I'm Sami Adika.
Much appreciated, Sami Adika, for that story. And now Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Musalia Mudavadi has reaffirmed Kenya's steadfast commitment to peace and stability. He has said Kenya stands as a beacon of hope and resilience within the region and the continent, urging Kenyans to continue collaborating towards a prosperous and harmonious future for all. Mudavadi has noted that Kenya's democratic space and the respect to the rule of law has enhanced peaceful coexistence amongst her people, thus inspiring confidence within the global partners.
We have to work towards dialogue and make sure that there is non-violence. Our Constitution provides for people to express themselves. They did. But of course, the Constitution does not provide for violent reaction. But I want to thank you because what has happened to Kenya is not unique. It is happening in different countries too. But I want to thank you specifically that in spite of the upheaval, you still had the courage and determination to have this conference held here in Nairobi. That is a serious manifestation of solidarity and a message that brings out that we all can work together to resolve the issues and challenges that we face. As humanity and as countries, we can work together. We should not run away from our problems. We should confront them, but confront them through persuasion, through logic, and through reasoned conversations.
A ruling issued by the High Court today has banned the police from using excessive force during protests. In the ruling issued by Justice Mugure Thande, the police have been barred from employing water cannons, tear gas, live ammunition, rubber bullets, or other harsh measures against protesters. The ruling resulted from a petition filed by lawyer Saitabao Olekanchori following persistent protests in the country over the last 2 weeks. Well, on that note, let's take a short break on Newswatch tonight. Plenty more coming up.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Welcome back. A family has decried the justice after, I beg your pardon, let me take that again. A family is calling for justice after their son was shot and killed in Narok town during the anti-tax demonstration. Addressing the press, the family has expressed their dismay over the incident, saying the deceased, like other fellow Kenyans, was demonstrating in the streets peacefully. According to them, young people were demonstrating for their rights and did not deserve to be killed by the armed police officers. This comes even as a series of extrajudicial killings and abductions have been reported in various parts of the country during the mass protests against the Finance Bill 2024, which seeks to impose additional taxes on already burdened citizens.
Sasa jana asubuhi ndio tumeweza kujua kwamba aliweza kushutiwa. Alikuwa mmoja mwenye alishutiwa pale kwa barabarani na aliweza kushutiwa vibaya sana. Tunaomba haki iweze kutendeka kwa ajili ya huyu mtoto, kwa sababu serikali imeweza kutulia huyu mtoto. Serikali inaweza aje kufanya kuua huyu mtoto mdogo ambaye ameenda tu kuprotest kuhusu haki yao. Wameweza kumuua pale kwa barabara na ameweza kuuliwa na mkubwa wao maaskari hapo hivyo. Serikali kazi yake ni kuchunga watoto, si kuwaua, na imeweza kuwaua. Tunaomba haki iweze kutendeka. Zaidi ya mno sisi ni wanyonge kabisa, hata hatuna hata shilingi 10 hata ya kukula kwa nyumba.
Over 30 children living with various forms of disabilities at Jomo Kenyatta Children's Home in Embu Town have been left homeless after a fire razed down the sanctuary during the wee hours of Friday morning. No one was injured during the 3 a.m. inferno as the 12 children who were at the home were evacuated to safety, with the rest saying to have gone home for the midterm break. The home, established 48 years ago, is run by the Kenya Red Cross Embu branch. According to KRS County Coordinator in charge of Embu and Kirinyaga, Martin Kagunda, the fire started at an office near the main entrance to the home and spread quickly to the adjacent structures, including a kitchen and dormitory.
Moto ilitokea jana usiku at around 3 am. Ikaanzia pande moja ya building ile iko karibu na gate. So wenye walikuwa wamelala hapo ndani walikuwa watu 11. Wakati walisikia moto ndio waliamuka, wakapata moto inaendelea. Wakaweza kuokoa wale walikuwa ndani na wakatoka. Lakini hiyo moto ilikuwa kubwa na imeweza kuchoma our whole dormitory, imeguza ofisi, imeguza store. So vitanda zimechomeka, nyumba imechomeka, chakula zimechomeka, and some assistive devices bado zimechomeka. Ukiangalia nyuma yetu utaona the whole of this building imechomeka yote. So na imechomeka kiasi ya kwamba haiwezi fanywa marekebisho. So itabidi nyumba tuibomoe. So ukifanya estimation, these are millions of money. Then zile vitu zilikuwa ndani bado ni vitu za millions. So there is a lot of damage yenye imefanyika kwa hii children's home. Usaidizi ilikuja baadaye at around 5 die gari ya moto ilifika na imeweza kuzima ile moto ilikuwa inaendelea, na sasa moto iko chini although imechoma. Gari yenye tulipigia ni gari ya Embu na wakaweza kutuconnect na gari za Tharaka Nithi zikafika zikazima hiyo moto. Our home iko na watoto 30, lakini wengi wao sasa wako midterm sababu wakati wanasoma, wakati wa likizo wanaendaga nyumbani kwa wazazi, na wenye walikuwa wamebaki ni kidogo au wengine walienda nyumbani. Jioni ya leo hatujui wale staff wanafanya kazi hapa watalala wapi. Hawana blanketi, hawana godoro, so hatujui watalala wapi. Ukiangalia pia ofisi zetu zimeguzwa. Kwa hivyo hata kufanya kazi itakuwa shida sana kwetu. Kwa hivyo tumeguzwa na tumeguzwa kwa njia kubwa. Watoto wanarudi on Monday. So hatujui watakuja kulala wapi wakirudi. So tuko na mashida mingi sana.
The Sita Mission Medical Camp in Marsabit County under Christ is the Answer Ministries has ended today. The 5-day mission in Oltarot and Kargi areas, which commenced on Monday, has seen the residents and their livestock taken care of. According to a group of veterinary doctors, reaching out to the locals' livestock is to prevent common diseases among the livestock, with a mission of preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ by conducting evangelism to livestock farmers.
Na tunasaidia wakulima hapa kwa kutibu magonjwa ya wanyama. Pia tuna deworm animals, that is camels, sheep and goat with cattle. Now we're also treating different conditions and diseases.
In North Harvest, generally what we do is what's called deworming of animals, generally which are goats, sheep, donkeys. We also have cattle, dogs, and even cats. But generally, we are happy. This is a good program, which is aids in educating the farmers or the pastoralists and enlightening them.
Approximately so far, we have handled almost more than 7,000 animals since the beginning of Monday. But as you can see, these are dry or semi-arid areas, and mostly it is a heavily infested area by tsetse flies. So expect the common diseases or the common challenge amongst the pastoralist communities are among the trypanosomiasis conditions. We also have cases of pneumonia. As you can see, we have a lot of dust. And also, from Monday to Wednesday, we have happened to handle several clinical cases. Just apart from pneumonia, we have also realized cases of mastitis in these areas. We have also realized cases of malnourishment or malnutrition in many animals, which we have managed to handle them, and also advise farmers on good pastoral keeping or livestock management.
Businessman and politician Jimmy Wanjigi is mourning the loss of his father, Maina Wanjigi, who passed away at the age of 92 while undergoing treatment at Nairobi Hospital. Maina Wanjigi was a prominent figure in Kenyan politics, having served as Minister for Agriculture, Public Works and Tourism, as well as a Member of Parliament for over 25 years. Mzee Wanjigi joined active politics during the November 1969 by-elections in Kamkunji following the assassination of Tom Mboya. Throughout his political career, he made significant contributions to the country, with one of his notable moments being a speech in 1973, where he advocated for free primary education in Kenya. This vision eventually materialized 30 years later under the leadership of the late President Mwai Kibaki. The Department of Social Protection had commenced registration of vulnerable people in a bid to streamline planning by the government. Speaking to journalists pertaining the exercise, Bungoma County Coordinator for Social Services, Eliud Ondara, said the department targets vulnerable people living with disability, the marginalized, and those living in abject poverty. He says that the 2019 census revealed that Bungoma County has over 130,000 people living in poverty, but the current estimates go above 140,000, thus promoting the demand-driven registration to access the current situation and plan for their social welfare. Education programs, health services, cash transfers are among the major interventions that the government intends to use in cushioning those who will be captured in the registration.
The reason why we have to collect this data is because we are establishing a database where government can get information for planning purposes. And for that reason, that is why we have sent people out, about 866 enumerators who are supposed to collect the data about these households. And then once we establish this database, government can be able to get information for planning purposes. Not only government, but also other agencies involved in development issues. We are targeting the elderly, people with disability, marginalized groups. Of course, there are some groups, for example, in Mount Elgon region, who are deemed to be marginalized, like those ones living in Mount Elgon forest. Those are some of the people we want to capture, and so that they can be within that. It goes to all the people in Bungoma County. This is a very important exercise for the people of Bungoma because it will assist us and the government, for that matter, in terms of planning for our people when it comes to important services, social protection services. You know, we are talking about healthy issues, we are talking about cash transfer, we are talking about education for our children. So it is very important. I'm appealing to all the people in Bungoma to be part of this exercise. When the enumerators come around, they allow them to collect the data. Number two, we are appealing to the leaders to assist us in communicating this information to the people of Bungoma, because the leadership understands that this is very important for them, because once we have this register, it can assist them in providing essential services.
Well, in sport, KCBFC is gearing up for a crunch clash against Police FC in the FKF Cup final this weekend, which will be played at the Ulinzi Sports Complex. The bankers under Bernard Molala's tutelage are upbeat about the victory, which will not only give them their first ever major trophy, but also give the team an opportunity to participate in next season's CAF Confederation Cup. On the road to the finals, KCBFC trounced outgoing champions Kakamega Homeboys 1-0 in the Cup quarterfinals before eliminating Kariobangi Sharks 4-2 in penalties after a hard-fought 1-1 draw in regular time in the semis.
Preparation has been good since we played our last match of Mozart Cup, because we were also preparing according to league matches also with the cup, but we believe the preparation is good and the boys are ready to go. Tanga, Rio, they really stepped up in the matches that they play of Mozart Cup, but now is another duty for other players to step in, and I believe that we have worked well with all the players. They understand what we need and they know the the importance of this match, and I believe they are going to step up and they're going to give us a good performance today.
Everyone is ready. Juu unapata hii kwa dream yetu kufika kwanza finali, then from hapo tujue what next. So tuko one step at a time, na sasa tuko na step moja ku clinch the trophy. So kila mtu ako ready and mental and physical ready. Najua kesho tunaenda kuwa na siku poa.
And that's all on Newswatch this Friday night. Thank you for watching. God willing, see you tomorrow night on Saturday. I'm Tess Njenga. Have a good night.